Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Chaos Child. It seems that Kurisu is in fact Senri Minamisawa. What really irritates me is she's still trying to play it off like Serika's words were a lie. I mean, I would assume that those words were effective because they were true, otherwise Kurisu could have easily blown this off. But apparently we're not doing that, and we're gonna have a tragic ending, because all these side branches are tragic endings, so let's go. It wasn't that I doubted her. I was doing this because I believed her, because I wanted to believe. That's what I told myself over and over again as I went to the meeting spot. Oh yeah, I think I suggested bringing Arimura into this. Are we doing that?
まったく、俺はいつの間にかすっかり便利屋になり下がってしまったようだな。
Shinjo's words were sarcastic when he saw me. But it made sense. I'd been coming to him for everything lately.
本来外部の人間にこんなものを見せるのは感心できるこっちゃないんだがな。
すみません。
まあいいさ。今更だ。それより、こいつが頼まれていた例の物だ。
Shinjo took out a large envelope and put it on the table.
見ていいですか？
そのために持ってきたんだろ？
ありがとうございます。
I could tell my hands were shaking as I reached for the envelope. If I wasn't suspicious, there was nothing to be afraid of. If I believed her, there was no reason to hesitate. But I still wasn't sure whether it was okay for me to look.
どうした？見ないのか？
いえ。
I opened the envelope and took out the documents inside. I guess this is a less accusatory way of doing it, but we really could just bring Kurisu to Arimura and say, "Are you and have you always been Nono Kurisu?" And that'll be the end of it right there.
そいつが渋谷地震で亡くなったとされる南沢千里の検視資料だ。
Shinjo whispered and looked around him as he spoke.
何せあの時は事態が事態だったからな。南沢千里に限らずいろいろと粉飾されてるデータも多くてな。一応渋谷地震の被害者のうち遺体の損傷が激しく身元がはっきりしないものに関しては残っている組織によって DNA 鑑定が行われた。当然南沢千里のものとされている遺体も火災による損壊が激しく組織の一部が DNA 鑑定に回されている。
じゃあその遺体は本当に？
それなんだがな。見てもらえばわかるが、南沢千里という少女は両親も地震によって命を落としている。そのせいで南沢千里の遺体に関してはその DNA 鑑定の結果を紹介する以前に当時親しかったとある人物の証言によって認定されたって話だ。
Oh, that's just perfect.
とある人物。
クルス・ノノだ。
In other words, Nono had said that it was Senri Minamisawa's body. That was the only reason she was believed to have died.
クルス・ノノの証言のみによりその遺体は南沢千里と認定され遺族に引き渡されて葬られた。ここまではいいな。
はい。
よし。で、その下の封筒だが、そいつが当時の DNA の鑑定記録だ。鑑識課の知り合いに頭を下げてちょこっとその記録をつついてみた。おかげでラーメン一杯分だ。
あ、それくらいなら僕が。
おいおい、言ってみただけだ。子供に出させるほど俺も落ちぶれちゃいないよ。
Shinjo was laughing, but his salary probably wasn't that high. With payday coming up, it was probably a pretty big blow to him.
で、だ。俺の方で鑑定結果を照合してみたんだがな。結論を言えば、遺体の DNA は南沢千里の両親、父親、母親のどちらとも DNA 型が一致しなかった。つまり、
その遺体は南沢千里のものではない。
そういうことだ。
Slowly, Everything Shinjo said began to sink in. The body that Nono Kurisu had claimed was Senri Minamisawa wasn't. But then why had Nono said that? Had she mistaken someone else for Senri Minamisawa? We are really going out of our way to believe her here. But how was that possible when they were supposed to be best friends? And...
さあ、それじゃあ、南沢千里のものと思われた遺体は一体誰だったのか。だが、
He motioned for me to flip to the next page.
当時、身元不明で DNA 鑑定に回された遺体は348名。そのデータを詳しく検証してみた結果、それらの中からおそらく南沢千里と母子関係だと思われる極めて近い DNA を持つ遺体が見つかった。
母子関係。
In other words, it was the mother of the dead girl.
その人は
If he knows it's Mrs. Kurisu, then he's got a very straight face right now. Shinjo took a sip of water to wet his throat. His next words were clear and unmistakable.
クルスユカ子。渋谷地震で圧死したクルスノノの母親だ。
How is he playing it this cool? This should have blown his freaking mind. Everything went black. I thought again and again about what he was telling me. The mother of the body they thought was Senri Minamisawa was actually Nono Kurisu's mom, which meant...
南沢千里のものと思われていた遺体はクルス・ノノのものだった。
I didn't even recognize my voice as I spoke.
それは間違いないことなんですか。
データは寡黙に、だが雄弁に物語っている。
南沢千里は親友が死んだことを悲しむどころか、これ幸いとあっけなく切り捨て、南沢千里として慰霊碑の下に葬った。そして自らは美しく明るく聡明で誰からも好かれるクルスノノとして第二の人生を謳歌していたんだよ。
Serika's voice echoed in my head. Then that was...
私を信じてくれるよね。
What? What the hell? She told me to believe her. Why did she tell me to believe her?
おい、宮代君。ひどく顔色が悪いが、大丈夫か？
I mean, you've met Kurisu, right? Like, is it not clicking for you either?
はい。
とりあえず、この結果についてだが。
それなんですが、どうするかは少しの間僕に預けてくれませんか。
そう言うだろうと思ったよ。
すみません。
まあいいさ。だが、そのままにしておくわけにもいかない。いずれ時が来たら、きちんと処置は取らせてもらうからな。
はい。
やれやれ。俺もとんだお人よしだな。
Shinjo kept talking after that, but I couldn't hear a single word he said. All I could sense was some dark thing sinking into my stomach. I staggered back home like a zombie in a graveyard. The lead weight in my stomach got heavier. There was a feeling inside me that I didn't recognize at all.
あ、おかえりタクル。どこへ行ってたの？
Nono was smiling at me like always, but I could tell that she was trying to judge my mood. That only upset me more. It was obvious now what she was afraid of.
タクル？
Nono Kurisu. The person I'd always thought was Nono Kurisu. The girl I'd always thought of as my stepsister. But... she was really...
ねえタクル、どうかした？もしかして気分でも悪いの？
My ears started to ring as she spoke. Lumps of emotion collided and fought within me.
どう
うしたの？タクル兄ちゃん病気？お布団敷きましょうか？
いや、それより二人はちょっと外で遊んできてくれないか？
え、外ですか？いいの？
ちょっとタクル、何言ってるの。この前セリカが来たばっかりじゃない。二人だけで行動させるなんて危険よ。
アパートの近くなら大丈夫だろう。その代わり何かあったら大声出すんだ。いいな。
We really should just take ourselves outside, shouldn't we?
うん、わかったよ。ウキ姉ちゃん、行こう。
あ、ちょっと。
We'd been so insistent that they stay inside that they were probably eager for any chance to get out. They were gone before Nono could even finish her sentence.
ちょっとタクル、どういう。
お前に話があるんだよ、クレス。
Kursu's expression tensed when she heard what I'd called her. I had to say it. I had to ask. I had to know. If we were going to stay like this, if Kursu was going to stay Kursu, if we were going to be a family, it was best that I didn't ask. But...
ついさっき、新庄さんに会ってきた。
新庄さんに？どうして？
調べてもらったんだよ。南沢千里の死について。
I thought she'd get angry or be surprised, but she listened to my words without changing her expression at all.
ここに DNA 鑑定の結果がある。南沢千里だと思われていた遺体の。
I tossed the brown envelope on the table, but Kursu didn't move to pick it up. She just said 2 words.
そう。
That was all. Why did you do that? Why did you do that when you told me you believed me? I was expecting her to say that, but she didn't. Instead, I was the one who spoke.
どうして言い訳しないんだよ。どうして否定しないんだよ。
だってタクルの中でもう結論は出てるんでしょ。
だけど否定してくれよ。違うって言ってくれよ。それじゃ認めたみたいじゃないか。
Even if she denied it, that wouldn't change a thing. I'd probably get mad that she was still lying, but even if I knew it didn't make sense, I still wanted her to say I was wrong. I wanted her to deny it. I still held on to a sliver of hope. I wanted to cling to the slightest chance that she had something that would make me think the DNA test was wrong. But instead, all she said was...
ごめん。
In other words, she admitted it. She admitted she wasn't really Nono Kursu. I took my anger out on the table in front of me.
なんだよ。それ。なんなんだよ、それ。どういうことなんだよ。
落ち着いてタクル。
これが落ち着いてなんていられるかよ。
お願い、話を聞いて。
嘘だったんだな。最初から全部嘘だったんだ。家族だって言ったのも大切だって言ったのも。
タクル。
家族の間で隠し事はなし。よく言えたもんだな。自分は正体まで隠しておいてよくそんなこと言えたもんだよ。
違うのタクル。
違う？何が違うんだよ。何が違うって言うんだよ。
私だって騙すつもりはなかったのよ。嘘をつくつもりなんてなかった。でもあなたと出会った時には私はもうクルス・ノノだったから、もう二度と南沢千里には戻りたくなかった。あなたたちに嫌われたくなかったから。だから。
Kurisu was forcing the words out.
でも騙そうとしたんじゃない。本当はずっと苦しかった。私は本当はクルス・ノノじゃない、そう言いたかった。でもそれが分かったら 今の生活が失われるって。明るくて誰からも好かれるクルスノノじゃなく、陰気で気味の悪い南沢千里だって分かったらタクルに嫌われるって。そう思うと怖くて本当のこと言えなかった。騙そうだなんてそんなこと、それだけは信じてほしい。
信じてほしい。
Those words shook me even more.
信じてほしいだって。
I'd lost the ability to control myself. I'd lost the ability to control what I was saying.
裏切ったのはそっちじゃないか。父さんや母さんの時だってそうだ。ずっと僕を騙して。もうあんなことは二度とない。そう言ったよな。それも嘘だったってことじゃないか。
それは。
家族の間で隠し事はしない。そう言って自分は一番大事なことを隠して、それで信じろだって。信じられるわけないだろ。お前のことなんて今さら何も信じられるわけない。
タクル。
Kurisu's eyes were overflowing with tears, but I couldn't stop myself from speaking.
なんだよ。信じ合うのが家族とでも言いたいのか。だったら僕たちはもう家族じゃない。二度と家族面しないでくれ。
I let it all out. When I was done, there was nothing left but emptiness. But even after that, I still couldn't forgive her. Her tears, her words, they all seemed like lies. So...
ごめんなさい。
I watched as Kurisu turned and ran out of the room, but I didn't try and stop her. Smashing my fist into the table wasn't going to change anything. But I slammed my fist into it over and over again anyway.
なんだよ。なんでこんなことに。
Sarika had betrayed me. Kurisu had lied to me. Everything I thought I had was turning against me. It was laughing at me as it fled away. I didn't know what to believe anymore. I didn't have anything left to believe in. Sarika said she'd committed all those murders for me. Kurisu had said she didn't want me to find out about her secret.
なんだよ。それじゃ元を正せば全て僕のせいじゃないか。
I'd wanted a case that would shake the whole world. I'd wanted a family. That's why all this had happened, right?
なんだ。そっか。悪いのは僕だ。
It was my fault for being here. It was me that was making everyone miserable. The victims of the return of the new generation madness. Yui, Dad, Ito, Sarika, Kurisu. It was all my fault. Maybe I should just go away. Maybe I should just go disappear.
頼むよ。誰でもいい。僕を消してくれ。この世から僕を消してくれ。頼むよ。聞いてるんだろう、尾上。それが僕の願いだ。だから。
I could hear someone open the door and run into the room. Was it Sarika here to grant my wish?
タクル兄ちゃん、今ノノさんが。ノノ姉ちゃんと何かあったの？タクルさん。
The two of them were looking at me, concerned, but I didn't have the energy to answer them. Kurisu didn't come back to the apartment that night. November 22nd, Sunday. Back at the dorm? What was I doing? The rain had started to fall, and the next thing I knew, I'd come here. Oh, I don't like this. We're taking her perspective now. I changed out of my wet clothes and into the old uniform I kept in the back of the dresser, and then looked around the room once more. They had closed the place down, but they hadn't changed the locks or put a chain on the door. The spare key was in its usual place. They should have just let us stay here for a while more then. If they had, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I desperately tried to drive the thoughts from my mind once more. Anyway, thanks to the key, I'd made it inside easily. I knew it was wrong, but I'd come here anyway. I had too many memories here. I needed to come here to say goodbye to my past. All the furniture was still here too. It was much the same as when we'd lived here. But since there was no one to clean it, dust had built up on the shelves, tables, and floors. I softly ran my hand along the desk, and a streak of brown appeared under a thin layer of white. Who would have thought it would get so dusty if no one was here for such a short time? The day we left, it had felt like we were never coming back, and I'd been terribly sad.
Tadaima.
I whispered softly. Of course no one answered. The place was empty, but still this was where everything I had was kept. Everything I had as Nono Kurisu. I hated myself, the person named Senri Minamisawa. I'd always been alone, ever since I was a kid. At recess time in daycare, everyone would go out to the playground and play on the swings and slide, but I liked to stay indoors and read books. No, I don't think I actually liked it. I just pretended I did so I wouldn't have to interact with other people. Even at a young age, I already thought that any interactions with others meant pain and sorrow. That didn't change in elementary school. Instead of changing, my introverted personality got worse. Now, after having lived as Nono Kurisu for years, I knew. If you try to stay in your shell, everyone will ignore you. But you don't have to do that. There's so many fun things around you. There's so many friends you can enjoy them with. I was always alone. That didn't mean I was bullied. For as long as I can remember, I'd always been worried about what other people thought of me. I was good at avoiding becoming a target. I tried my best not to stand out. I tried my best not to make anyone mad. That was my life. But I still hated myself. I hated the girl named Senri Minamisawa. One day I talked to my mom about it.
お母さん、私、もっとみんなと仲良くなれるようになりたい。友達がたくさんできる。そんな性格になりたい。
Thinking back, well, that was my first mistake. That was when my own personal hell began. Is this what led to the experiments? Yep. Mom took me to a lab. She told me if I went there, they'd fix my shy personality. It was a lab that was related somehow to the pharmaceutical company where my dad worked, and deeply related to that weird cult my mom believed in. Ugh. At first, it was just simple psychological tests. All the doctors there were nice. When the tests finished, they gave me candy. I started to look forward to going there. I was a child. I was a fool. At first, Dad was opposed to me going there, but after a while, he almost never came home anymore. Mom said he was busy with work, and then the experiments began to get more serious. They would force my eyes to stay open as they showed me all kinds of weird images. They made me listen to this weird, creepy static for hours. Hot things, cold things, sour things, spicy things, nasty things, nasty things, nasty things. Painful things. On repeat, I'm not doing that. Again and again and again. They put weird machines on my head. They gave me drugs. They gave me dozens of shots in my arms. When my left arm turned purple, they'd use the right. When the right arm turned purple, they'd use the left. Again. No matter how much I cried or screamed, no matter how much I said I didn't want to go, Mom told me it was my task in life to go there and be experimented on. What they were doing there was special. I was chosen, so I couldn't tell anyone else. That's what she said. Mom wouldn't listen no matter what I said. But Dad? Maybe Dad would. I longed to meet my father. And then one day I saw him in the middle of an experiment. When I finally saw my father again, he was like a different person. Not the way he looked, the way he felt. Before, he'd been so opposed to me going to that facility, but now he said the experiments were for my own good. I was a small child with nothing left to believe in. The drugs ruined my skin. My hair would fall out sometimes too. I lost a few friends I'd had. Then one day, the scientists were all very happy with the results of the experiment. Dad was happy too. I didn't care. I just wanted to get away. Then the experiments got even worse. They gave me shots. My whole body hurt. I thought I might die. I fought back. They tied me to a chair. They put a weird device on my mouth. I couldn't even say it hurt anymore. And then... I thought I saw someone looking at me from the door.
助けて。誰か見てるならお願い。助けて。お願い。
But there was no one to hear my voice. No one came to save me. I fell into despair. Despair at the past, despair at the present, despair at the future. There was no hope there. Only pain and suffering.
生きるのがこんなに辛いなら私はもう生きていたくなんてない。
I longed for death. And then it happened. She spoke to me for the first time.
大丈夫？え？顔色悪いよ。保健室行く？どうしたの？うん。大丈夫。本当？うん。あ、私、クルスノノ。あなたは？南沢千里。千里だね。よろしく。よろしく、クルスさん。ノノでいいよ。みんなそう呼んでるし。ノノ？
She was the single ray of light in my dark life. Nona was always cheerful and smiling. She was nice to everyone. There was always a circle of people around her. I couldn't bring myself to try and join that circle. I just had to sit there and watch. But whenever I did,
千里ちゃんもおいでよ。一緒に遊ぼう。
she would shout to me. I could see the people around her frown. Nona must have known too. Some of them would just walk away when I went to join the group.
いいよ、そういう人は放っておけば。だって私たちお友達でしょ。友達？私とノノちゃんが？え、千里ちゃんはそう思ってくれないの？そうじゃないけど、私でいいの？何言ってるの？当たり前じゃない。
Of course I could. Those words made me so happy. They kept me going. They saved me. Nona was cute and popular with the boys. Kawahara and the other boys would gather around her. They were all after Nono. I knew they didn't like me. Sometimes they'd say that the only reason I existed was to make her look better. Wow, Kawahara said that today, or like a day ago. But I didn't care. I knew Nono didn't think that way. One day, Nono asked me a question.
千里ちゃんはいつも早く帰って何してるの？
I had no idea what to say. By that time, they were doing the experiments on weekdays, too. I was going to a weird place where they did creepy experiments. Mom had told me not to tell anyone, but if I told her, she might think I was weird, but maybe I could tell her.
うちってね、お母さんしかいないの。だから休みの日はいつもお手伝いばっかりなんだ。
I was surprised. Nono had always seemed so happy. I didn't know she had any problems at all.
もしかして千里ちゃんも同じ？
Maybe Nono felt sympathetic to me? When I thought about that, I couldn't tell her the truth. And it made me feel a little better to think that I wasn't the only one suffering. And then I started to hate myself. Nono was honestly worried about me, so how could I feel that way? But still, I was jealous of Nono. She was cheerful and pretty and smart, and everyone liked her. I looked up to her more with each passing day. I started to think that I wanted to be Nono, but that was never going to happen. And the more I started to feel that way, the worse the experiments got. I never told anyone, but word started to get around that I was going to some weird lab. My skin dried and cracked, my hair fell out. Eventually I stopped being able to move my legs like I wanted to. And then came the day of November 6th, 2009. I was undergoing another painful experiment that day. On my way back, I became very dizzy and collapsed. I thought it was a side effect of the drugs they'd just given me, but it wasn't. Everyone on the streets of Shibuya had fallen over and was crawling on the ground like me. The buildings collapsed, the trees on the side of the road fell over, cars and trucks lost control and collided, the whole city turned to hell in an instant. I didn't know what had happened. The experiments had caused my legs to shrivel up and I couldn't walk right. Someone in the fleeing crowd pushed me over and I had to drag my wounded body home. Now remember, of course Kurisu's capable of running now, but remember how, I think it was Kawahara who said that she used to be pretty good at sports? Did you know that? What a surprise. And now she doesn't do it anymore? Because she's literally a different person? Mom was dead. It had happened so fast. She had that same self-satisfied smile on her face that she always had. This is for your sake. This is a sign of your faith. Those were the words she'd always said when she'd made me suffer. And now she was gone from the world without suffering at all. I felt a feeling that I'd never felt before. It wasn't sorrow or loss. A while later, someone came from the facility to tell me that my dad had died as well. He'd been unlucky enough to be in Shibuya for a meeting during the earthquake. I still didn't feel sad. At the same time, the people from the facility told me to evacuate to the hospital. They'd been showing me these strange pictures and seen some kind of symptoms develop, they'd said. They didn't want to lose a valuable guinea pig. Even with all that going on, I could tell what they were thinking. Mom was dead. Dad was dead. Did I still have to undergo more experiments? Did I still have to suffer? There was nothing left to tie me down anymore. I smacked away the big hand that stretched out from me and ran. I kept running, not even knowing where I was going. I still don't know how I ran on those legs, but somehow I found the strength. I didn't want to go back to that lab. Ever. That was enough to keep me going. And after I turned down many corners and scrambled over a bunch of rubble, I found her. Even buried in the rubble, she was beautiful.
Nono-chan, 大丈夫? 今助けてあげるからね.
I couldn't just let her die. Nono was my best friend, and more than anything, she was the person I wanted to be. If she died here, I'd have nothing left to live for. I desperately tried to move the rubble off her and save her. But I was too weak. That's right, there was nothing I could do. I didn't want to abandon her. There was nothing I could do. As more time passed, blood started to trickle out through the rubble, and her voice began to get smaller. I looked around and saw a grown-up's feet poking out from under the rubble behind her. They seemed like a woman's feet. Nono grabbed my arm. Her hand was surprisingly cold. Tears poured down her face as she slowly closed her eyes. The strength left her hand. No matter how much I cried, no matter how hard I hit her cheek, she didn't move. I cried. Nono's death meant the death of the person I looked up to. It meant the death of my hope. It may as well have meant my own death. Even in death she was pretty. But what about me? My hair was a mess. My face was covered with soot. I must have cut my face somewhere too. And then I saw something strange. It was like the wings of a huge bird soaring through the skies, or the hands of a holy mother coupled in prayer. Organic yet inorganic. I was so entranced by it that I didn't even realize that someone had come up to me. "Did you see a little girl around here? She was about your age, looks kinda gloomy." It was one of the men who'd come to take me to the lab. Oh, we'd already changed. When I didn't say anything, he sighed and walked off. It didn't make sense. Weren't they looking for me? I gasped in surprise at something I saw in the corner of my eye. It was a piece of glass embedded in the wall of a collapsed building. I could see Nono reflected in the pieces. But Nono was right at my feet. The Nono in the glass was looking at me in surprise. I took a step closer, and so did the girl in the glass. I tilted my head, and so did Nono. I'd turned into Nono. I looked around for something else that would show my reflection. I picked Nono's phone off the ground and used it to take a picture of myself. I was Nono. I couldn't believe it, but it was real. What had happened? Did it have something to do with that headache? Or that weird sword I'd seen? Maybe it was because of those awful experiments. But it didn't matter. If I could become Nono, I wouldn't have to do any more experiments. I'd be free of the chains of pain, sorrow, and loneliness that bound Senri Minamisawa. I could spread my wings as Nono Kurisu and fly off into a beautiful blue sky. Flames were already spreading from the collapsed building. I apologized again and again as I dragged Nono's body out of the rubble and put it in the fire. The smell of burning hair and flesh stung my nostrils, and it was only then that I realized what I was doing. I quickly tried to grab her body and pull her out, but it was too late. Soon her body had turned to black ash, and I passed out. When I woke up at the hospital, a new life as Nono Kurisu awaited me. All my classmates, including Kawahara, came to visit me. They were nicer to me than they'd ever been to Senri Minamisawa. Fortunately, nobody questioned if I was really Nono Kurisu. Nono had been buried as Senri Minamisawa based on what I'd told the police. Even in that unprecedented disaster, I still thought they might get more suspicious. I was astonished at how easy it was. For a while afterward, I felt guilty at how worried everyone was about me. I was terrified they'd find out. My personality in particular wasn't something I could quickly change. I'm sure a lot of things I said struck people as wrong. But time was on my side. Everyone simply decided that I was traumatized at the loss of my mother and friend, and was actually even nicer to me. And at some point I got used to pretending to be Nono Kurisu. I mastered the role and stopped feeling guilty. Soon I really was Nono Kurisu. That was about the first time I saw the boy in the coma named Takeru Miyashiro. After that, I was taken in by Aoba Dorm, and then Yui and Yuto came. Takaru came still in his coma. I took care of him every day. I nursed him. We fought. Soon we opened up to each other. And we became a family. Takaru left the dorm. We became a family again. We stopped being a family. And in the end, I stopped being Nono Kurisu. I was back to being Senri Minamisawa, the girl who lied to her family for years. But...
じゃあ私はどうすればよかったの？
come clean and say that that was the one thing you lied about? Was I supposed to go back to that lab as Senri Minamisawa? To be experimented on as a gigalomaniac? Spend my days suffering in that damp building? Without anyone ever loving me? And die as a guinea pig with no happy memories, no warmth at all? Was that what I was supposed to do?
だったら私は何のために生まれてきたの？
I wanted to live. I wanted to be happy. That was all.
私だって分かってたよ。
I knew that it was all a lie. All the smiles, all the kindness, all the friendship, it was all for Nono. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for Senri Minamisawa. Takaru's voice echoed in my mind.
嘘だったんだな。最初から全部嘘だったんだ。家族だって言ったのも信じられるわけないだろ。今さら何も信じられるわけない。
If he knew the real me, if he knew Senri Minamisawa, would he accept me?
ねえタクル、私はどうすればいいの？これからどうすればいいのかな？
What could I do now? What was important to me?
私は
Well, we're back to Takaru, and we'll see if this gets resolved. I bet it doesn't, because these endings have all been miserable. But I suppose we'll find out. But for now, it is time to stop the installment. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today, didn't we? We had our falling out with Kurisu, and we've finally seen the long and painful flashback that brought her to where she is today. Can we reconcile this? We're gonna have to see if we get together and deal with this, but I don't know if this is gonna go well, and I still don't know if Sarika's gonna show up and pull some shenanigans again. Guess we'll have to find out. Until next time, everyone.